Alright, guys, we are going to talk about psychedelics. It has been a long time since we've had a discussion here about psychedelics. Now, a quick note here, side note. I actually started this channel, and it was a psychedelic based channel. Not all content in the early phase of this channel was psychedelic related, but I'll tell you something. Almost every single video, maybe, maybe like maybe like I don't know how many videos I have here. I know I have over 1,000. I would say half the videos here. I could be a little wrong here because I really don't know, but let's say half the videos here, the early stages of this channel, the first half, let's say, in almost every single video, I was on psychedelics because I went through a long phase of microdosing, which really was mid dosing. So, to just summarize it to you guys, I have pretty much done way too many mushrooms, way too much acid for like 4 years. It was like a 4 year phase. I've done hundreds of tabs of Lucy, and I'm not saying this to be proud or to flex or anything like that. It's just a matter of fact. I don't do it anymore because I realized how stupid that was. Okay, so there's no flex here. I was actually like pretty much a dumbass for doing that, and I suffered as a result with chronic fatigue and dependence. And I really came down hard when I stopped. So, why am I looking here? I don't know. All right. Anyway, so I am quite familiar with these substances. I am quite familiar with the psychedelic state, and I have done. So I've stopped the phase started in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 4 years. Okay, pretty heavy experimentation in the psychedelic state. I was in a perpetual psychedelic state for 4 years. Let's just say that. I was in that state for 4 years due to abuse, constant exposure. So, I stopped in the end of 2019, particularly December 2019. Let's just, for convenience, say 2020, a few months before Coconut 19. And since then, I've done it 4 times. They were all in 2020. So I stopped 2020. I stopped the craziness of doing it on a regular basis, almost semi-daily basis. Just had to reset the tolerance every now and then. And so 2020, I don't really consider doing, from my standards. I've done it 4 times in 2020. Yeah, 4 times. 2021, I haven't done it. And I'll probably do it in the future. You know, I've wisened up because I realized that these things aren't supposed to be used regularly. You use them sparingly and with extreme caution and purposefulness and intent. And since because I stopped being exposed to psychedelics, I stopped making videos on them. You could go check out my playlist, by the way, called Psychedelic Playlist. I have very good videos on how to prepare for trips and trip reports and things like that. And of course, I've just not been hanging around the psychedelic rabbit holes. Okay, I haven't really been like watching other channels. I haven't really been immersed. I used to be fully immersed in that world, listening to psychedelic podcasts, essentially being in the psychedelics community from 2016, 17, 18. I stopped in 19. I was doing it as a micro / mid dosing, but I was doing other things with my life, focusing on other things, right? I got into the raw foods and the detox and all that kind of stuff, and I just still was doing it, but I wasn't like in the community anymore, actively listening to podcasts and listening to Terrence McKenna and all of that. I stopped all of that probably sometime in 2018. Okay, so I think 2019 I got into religion and Hinduism and Buddhism, and I studied that, and I did a Vipassana retreat, and all, you get into different rabbit holes. But that deep psychedelic rabbit hole, 16, 17, 18, 3 years. The deep one, where I was like, all my world was psychedelics, okay? So, I love psychedelics. They've taught me a great deal of things. I have great respect for them. And I just wish I had used them more responsibly in the later half. The first 2 years, I was using them responsibly. The second 2 years, I was just doing them way too much. Way too much. I decreased the dose. I was mid-dosing, not doing big trips, but I was doing them way too much. So, it turns out that ever since I stopped being so involved in that world, that it has gone mainstream. Because when I started getting involved in it, it was taking off to become mainstream. And I remember it was a taboo subject to talk about. And you know, you would have been kind of like an outcast, like the crazy mushroom guy. I was the crazy mushroom guy. But as time went on, it became more and more mainstream, and more people got involved. So much so, and I do remember like the 2018 particularly, something in the 17, 18, 19 and on, it just like took off, and I, I started to have so many people interested in it that I became a dealer. Okay, I became a dealer. So I was like the dealer in my town, in my neighborhood. Okay, so anyway, um, as a result of it going mainstream, similar thing happened to what happened with marijuana, where marijuana got so like disrespected. Marijuana is supposed to be used in a ritualistic fashion, just like psychedelic. Some people consider it a psychedelic. In a way, it is. But marijuana got so disrespected, everybody became a stoner. You do it whenever. There's no respect to it. You do it and you watch mindless stuff and you eat junk food. It lost its aura. It lost its respect. It lost its magic. If you actually treat marijuana with the ritualistic fashion and you do it in like a beautiful setting, oh my god, like you go to nature and it connects to nature so much. It really is wonderful for that, but people don't use it like that. Psychedelics, unfortunately, is going down that rabbit hole as well because it's becoming mainstream. So lately, it's been coming to my attention that some people, famous YouTube celebrities are misusing these substances. I've checked out some people, particularly Connor Murphy. He was like this bodybuilding guy. But not just him, it's being misused by a lot of people. And I've noticed that after some reflection on my dealer days, when I was like dealing this stuff, that I've given it to people that had no business taking psychedelics yet. And I've realized that they were doing it recreationally, and I had wished now that I didn't really deal it. I wish I just kept it to myself and not dealt it. And not, because you know what? I had realized that I was giving it to people that had no business in taking it. They were doing it recreationally. And I know of a friend of mine, he's done a lot of psychedelics, and I can tell you it didn't give him that much because he was always doing it recreationally. He liked to see the visuals. He liked the freedom it gave him. He says, I don't give a fuck when I do it. I like this sense I lose my inhibitions. But he didn't really get all that much out of it. So not everybody that does it is gonna, it's gonna differ from person to person. And then the absolutely most difficult part of it is the integration. I think people struggle with integrating it, with grounding back to reality. Okay, and that's what happens to some people. And so I'll take up particularly one thing that is common in people that become like. There's also Leo from actualize.org, who's like his channel's amazing. What he does is amazing. He's done like this experiment where he did 30 days in a row of 5 MEO, what is it? 5 MEO? I never done that compound, so I don't know much about it. He did some like 30 days in a row on it, right? Now, you tell me if that's responsible or irresponsible. And I know something about using psychedelics irresponsible because I was doing LSD, not with the full doses and quantities like a tab, but it was mid dosing, so I would be blasted. Not like trip, not seeing visuals, but I'd be blasted. I was doing it regularly for like 2.5 years, 3 years almost. So I know about being irresponsible. And this is the result of that. You start to say things like, I am God. If you guys are familiar with Connor Murphy or Akshras.org, they're very big into like, I am God. I know everything. I am omnipresent. I know exactly what's going on in the universe. I am this, and that. And you start to go around and telling people, hey, you're God. You're God. You're God. You're God. Wake up, wake up, wake up. You're God. Of course, if you're constantly being exposed to these states, if you're constantly under these psychedelic states all the time, your constant exposure, 30 days in a row, 3 years in a row in my case, right? Yeah, of course. Of course, you're gonna say I'm God because you're constantly being exposed to these higher states of consciousness where you see that you're neither male nor female. You're neither male nor female. You're not your character. You're not your avatar. You're just an awareness experiencing the avatar, and everybody else is the same as you, and it's all oneness, and they're all God too. They just don't know, and you become like, I must wake them up. And people are like confused. What are you saying? Like, I'm God, I'm God. Then you get the Christians mad at you because they say, no, you're not God. That's New Age deception, which is not true and not true at the same time, okay? Because a lot of these people haven't experimented with these states. You are God. Yeah, this is true. That's objective reality, right? That's objective. That's like absolute reality. You are God, everyone's love. That's absolute objective reality. But if you're going to be exposed constantly to these states using substances, not organically and naturally, like these states happen to these like saints and yogis and people who dedicate their lives for that kind of lifestyle organically. They just go and meditate and that's it. And usually they're, all the way, exclude, like, they just go, they're living on the fringe of society. All right. They're just doing their thing. And it happens organically. They're not constantly using these substances. If it happens organically like that, then you're supposed to be having these states. But if you're having to use these substances, because it happens organically to some of these yogis and these kinds of people, they're able to it means they're ready for it. So they're able to deliver that kind of state of consciousness and awareness to others in a way that is relatable, because they are it. They don't have to constantly use these substances to become it. They are it. And so because it happened organically, just like you pick fruits off the vine, off the tree too early, and they're like like you've cut them off from like their nutrition is nowhere near optimal, the nutrients in them, their ripeness. Some of these fruits, like if you eat a fruit that's been picked too early, it's acidic. Actually, it's not alkaline. It has an acidic response to on your body, right? It's the same thing. If you're forcing it, if you're raping it, then you're not going to be able to present this in a relatable way, and you're going to seem delusional, and you will be delusional. If this happens to you organically, like let's say you've just done meditation for 10 years and you've become that expression, that sort of state of awareness in an organic, sustainable manner, then what happens, because it's organic, you're grounded in this reality as well. And because you're grounded in this reality, you're not delusional, and you don't seem delusional to others. You're fully here in this earthly state of awareness. You can relate to others. You're understanding where their awareness is, and at the same time, you're operating in that higher awareness of being God, being not in this world, essentially. Like Jesus says, be in this world, but not be of it. Right? So, but if you're constantly doing this because you're exposing you need the exposure to psychedelic, and you're like, the only way for me to do this, I'm just gonna do psychedelics all the time, then you become delusional. And when you start to say things like, I am God, it's not genuine, it's not relatable, it's not organic. You've picked the fruit way too early from the tree. That's all it is. All right? And because it's not organic and you're not ready for it, that's why you need to constantly use these substances. You're not ready for it. It's not happening organically. You're not ready for it. You're raping. It's a form of rape. Because of that, you can get so easily ungrounded from this reality. And you start to think absolute reality is all is one, no good, no evil, right? That's a trap. Because yes, from the absolute reality perspective, there is no good and no evil, because in the same way that if you have a coin, the heads and the tails is one coin, right? Yeah, very easy to see. It's one coin. Can you argue that it's not one coin? No, it's one coin. One is heads, one is tail. One is good, one is evil. It's the same coin. All right? So absolute reality perspective, there's no good and no evil. But then if you're constantly being exposed to these states without the wisdom, see, when it happens to you organically, like a yogi who meditates and just dedicates himself for that kind of life, for attaining that kind of state of consciousness and awareness, you're very grounded. You're able to be living in absolute reality and subjective reality, and be able to perfectly live in both states of consciousness. Very gracefully, very relatable to all those around you. Everyone around you can feel it. The fruit has been perfectly, it wasn't even picked, it just fell to fell. You're sitting underneath it and it just fell and like boom, right in your hands. Perfect fruit, perfect ripeness, perfect nutritional content, perfect everything. Same thing. And as a result, you have the wisdom to be able to navigate through being on this earthly plane in this subjective reality and being in objective reality and being as God and as your avatar and being not seeming like a crazy person to others, because in that you're wise, you've gained the wisdom, you've passed, now you've graduated, you have the degree, so you're able to live amongst humans in this world as that, from that state of awareness, I am God, everyone's God. And then from state of awareness, I'm also my avatar and everyone's their avatar and everyone thinks they're their avatar. So I'm gonna treat them this way, but I'm gonna treat them with such love that I'm just gonna do that thing to them where I make them remember that they're love and they're God, but without even having to say anything or preach to them or say, you're God, wake up, right? Because you've gained, you've graduated, you've got the degree, it's happened organically, you've gained the wisdom. But without the wisdom, idiots like me who said, well, it looks like I'm gonna have to do this the psychedelic way, I'm just gonna take it for God knows when, for life, I'll take it to be in those higher states of consciousness because this is the way it is. All right. So what happens is you get ungrounded. You become delusional. You become delusional. Okay, and you can just prove this to yourself. So you say, I'm God, I know everything, I know everyone, I know what's going on. All right, can you read my mind right now? Tell me, let's say I'm a complete sinner. Tell me when my birthday is. Tell me, what did I eat yesterday? Tell me, can you fly? Can you just instantaneously fly in front of me right now? Because you're God, right? Well, in most of these people who say I am God, like if, like for instance, I'm just giving examples, like nothing against these people, right? And I want to explain to you why we get addicted to these states in a second. But for instance, like Connor Murphy, he's like saying, I am God, like you're God, wake up. And then actualize.org, he was saying something like, I could do anything, I can do telekinesis, I can read everyone's mind, I can heal myself, and I can heal the world instantaneously. Like, okay, do it. No, he can't do it because he's forcing these states of awareness. Whereas these people, that happens to them organically, those yogis that dedicate their life for this, they can do this. They can do this. They can tell you exactly everything that's going on in your mind. They can fly. They can levitate. They can tell you when your birthday is. They can tell you what you ate yesterday. They can tell you. They can do all these psychic powers because it happened to them organically. They've graduated. They've graduated genuinely, authentically. Okay, so it is delusional to say I am God. People around are gonna be like, they're not gonna be able to trust that because, okay, all right, show me, prove to me. You could do all these, prove to me. Telekinesis, all right, lift the table. Yeah, you can't, right? In truth, you are it. You are the awareness. These substances show you what's possible, but then you've got to come down back to this reality. All right, and one thing I've noticed. With people who get down these psychedelic rabbit holes and there's just constant exposure, their health deteriorates because they're so ungrounded in this reality. They ignore what they're eating. They don't know what's actually gonna make them healthy and what's not gonna make them healthy. They end up getting sick. They end up at some point getting like anxious, tired, chronic fatigue, etc. They're not grounded in this reality. They're constantly taking these substances and constantly just going to these realms. I am God. I am above all. I am enlightened. Right? I can heal myself instantaneously. No, get back to reality. You need to eat better. You need to exercise more. All right? And as it turns out, as it turns out, after you take these substances, at some point, it happens for most people, you have to come back here and say, I am what I am right now. We get addicted to these states because we come from these states of awareness, and they're so blissful, right? It's so blissful, It's for 3 years I was taking, mid-dosing, right? LSD, and I was like always in a state of contentment. No anger, no frustration. When I stopped, I started getting more angry. All the things that I have to work on organically started coming up to me. They started like surfacing. They started coming to the surface. All right, things I'm just repressing because I'm constantly being exposed to these substances, and I'm bliss. Never. I was like a serenity, man. Constant serenity for 3 years. Constant serenity in everybody wanted to be around me, because they could just feel that, like serenity, contentment, yeah. And then when I stopped, all these things that I have to work on in this reality came up. Okay, they all started coming up. The chronic fatigue that was a result of constant exposure to these psychedelics came up. Repressed anger came up. All kinds of things. So that's why people like us who go through this intense period of experimentation, first of all, we seem crazy to others, which we're not. We're not, and I'll tell you why we're not. We're actually more sane because we're seeing different possibilities here. But then we become delusional if we refuse to come down here and deal with what we need to deal with here without this constant raping to get to certain states of awareness. You know, there is other downfalls to, you know, overuse and abuse of psychedelics that I haven't gone through in this video. But there's a lot more. You know, one thing that comes to my mind is you become an open conduit. So there's all kinds of good and bad spirits, all kinds of benevolent and nefarious spirits that either want to help you or want to feed off your pain and struggle and fears. And then some of these can disguise themselves as good spirits, angelic spirits, good voices, you know, and they could be feeding you bullshit. And because you're so open in these states, you might take a thought that's really not good for you or not good for the overall well-being of all from some kind of nefarious spirits that are pretending like they're angelic spirits. And then and then they can like convince you because in that set you see, oh, there's no good no bad, it's all like, look, it's one coin, heads and tails. No, get back to reality. We're here to make choices. We're here to make moral choices. We're here to choose good or evil. All right, don't be so because it's so nice to say no good no evil, accept all, I love all, right? No, don't be fooled, because we are here to make choices. Morality does exist. There's an energy of goodness and an energy of evil in this universe. All right, like you could easily get persuaded into the idea when you're constantly under the exposure of psychedelics. You can easily be persuaded into the idea that pedophilia is okay, but it's okay, not like from that perspective. You don't say I want to be a pedophile, and you might just be like, no, never. Like, I'm not into it. I don't want to do it. But hey, if somebody's pedophile, we should accept them too, because it's all subjective. Everyone's perspective is valid. You know, that's a line of thought. If you're exposed long enough to psychedelics that you become a fan of, let's say, is everything subjective. We all have perspectives. They're all valid. The only objective reality is love and acceptance and isness. That's the only absolute reality. Awareness. Therefore, everything else is subjective. Therefore, if somebody's a pedophile, I don't want to have anything to do with it, but hey, it's okay. No, it's not okay. We're here to make choices, and that's not okay. There is a morality in this universe. We are inside a game, inside a simulation. We're here to make choices. There is the energy of goodness and the energy of evil. But if you're constantly under the influence of psychedelics, that kind of stuff will happen to you. Or you'll say, it doesn't matter what I eat, right? It's all good. There's no good, no bad. If I eat a Big Mac with a piece of steak in it, or and like some French fries, or if I eat an apple, you know, it's all good. There's no difference. They're all sides of the same coin. I will transform this. I will transcend this. I will be an alchemist. Yeah, if that happened to you organically, and you got to that state, like again, a yogi that dedicated himself to this and got to the state organically, you can absolutely do that. But if you're gonna do that only under the influence of psychedelics, right? But in reality, you don't have the ability to do this. That Big Mac is gonna affect you the same way. It's gonna affect you the way it's gonna affect any other human. Okay, it's gonna cause painful things in your body. All right, and you don't like it. We don't like pain. Pain is bad, right? Pain is bad. Okay, pain, pleasure. They're both sides of the same equation. But do you want to experience more pleasure? Or do you want to experience more pain? Yeah. So clean up your body. Eat good foods that are not harmful to you, that are beneficial to you, so you don't feel much of that pain. But if the pain happens to you, all right, so be it. If you got in an accident, so be it. Heal yourself. Get back to reality. Get back to reality. Yes, get back to reality. I used to be so pissed off when somebody told me that. I'm like, no, what do you mean? You create your own reality, right? My perspective is valid. Why do you want me to get back to your reality? What is reality anyway? It's all a construct, a social construct, right? No, get back to reality. Get back to reality. What do I need to do to be healthier, for instance? Start with that. How can I improve my relationships with others? How can I be more loving to my wife, to my husband? Get back here, because we're here to make choices. We're here to make choices. We're here to choose good or evil. It exists. Those energies exist. From the highest perspective, we're like, yeah, we're in a duality here. From the highest perspective, non-duality is, oh, don't you see the coin? Good and evil, both part of the same thing. Oh, yes. Satan and God. Yeah, they're just dancing with each other. God's playing with God. Yeah, it is. It is. Get back to your character. Why else did you incarnate here in this character? Make choices. Make choices. Make choices. Because choices, otherwise, choices are happening for you. If you're gonna just completely ignore this reality and continue to do psychedelics for the rest of your life and just eat indiscriminately because you never got back to reality and contemplated, for instance, on what should I eat to prolong and take care of this vehicle, then yeah, you're delusional. You've ignored this reality. So I like to finish with a quote that I read a couple days ago or yesterday. You can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of reality. So you can ignore everything that's happening in this reality right now. All the politics, all the stuff with the juices and with everything. With the juices, for you guys, maybe some new people here, juices. You can ignore it, and a year from now, somebody knocks on your door, says, we're going to inoculate you because there has been some executive order or something like that. Everybody must be inoculated. And you say, okay, here, no problem, right? You haven't done your research. You haven't got to this reality because you're too busy being God, taking these substances and being God. Guess what's going to happen to you, my friend? You'll find out what's going to happen to you because you got inoculated, because you're too ignorant and you weren't prepared, because you refused to come back to this reality because it's too dirty. I'm too busy being God. All right? Keep eating those potato chips and all those foods, and yeah, you've got diabetes coming. If you're like, let's say in your 30s, you know, just wait like a few more years. You probably start to have you become a pre-diabetic or something, and you'll be like, how did that happen? Or you start suffering with chronic fatigue, and you'll be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Here, give me more LSD, more mushrooms, more 5-MeO or whatever, DMT, more ayahuasca. That'll fix it. I'll fix it with my mind, right? Doesn't work like that. We're here. Come back here. Here, right here. These substances are not supposed to be used indiscriminately. They're not supposed to be used in an irresponsible way. They're not supposed to be used without intent, without integration and grounding, coming back here and living life. You know the saying, before enlightenment, carry wood, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Same thing. Come back here, chop wood, carry water. Take care of your health, take care of your relationships with others, love them. Deal with all these repressed emotions. If you're feeling chronically fatigued or something like that, I've watched, Leo was saying he's been suffering with chronic fatigue and he doesn't know why and everything. You know, come back to reality. I love Leo, by the way, and I watch a lot of his videos, but come back to reality. Time for you perhaps to start digging deeper into human health. All right? Yeah. You know, things like that. But to continuously say, I'm God and I know all, prove it to me. Fly right now. Read my mind. Tell me, what did I eat yesterday? What was the quality of my shit yesterday? Tell me, was it diarrhea? Was it full? What color was it? How did it smell? Did it smell fruity? Did it smell like onions? Yeah? Yeah, you know? But when it happens to you organically and you're not constantly, you know, raping yourself with these substances, you're an embodiment of that, and you could do all these things in your embodiment, and people feel so nice around you. Nobody thinks you're delusional. Everybody feels it. It's organic. You've gotten the wisdom. You've gotten the degree. You're a PhD now. Not depending on using these substances to get into these states of consciousness, right? And unfortunately, that kind of delusion is giving a bad image to these substances. Some people are interested, they're not interested in it anymore. Others, like some people who are like deep into Christianity, say that's all false age anyway. You know, false age. No, not necessarily. You know, but it definitely is. There's definitely a nefarious agenda, and yeah, it's unfortunate. Really, it's unfortunate. the way people are misusing these substances, the way they're being too promoted, like mainstream, especially microdosing. Especially microdosing, you know, it's being so promoted now, and it's like, you know, you're not supposed to be under the heavy influence of these substances all the time. If it happens to you organically, trust me, you will embody it like a beautiful tree ripened fruit, as opposed to a fruit picked way too early. Sometimes they never ripen those fruits, they just stay the way they are. Some of them ripen a little bit, but yeah, the quality, the taste is not the same. Okay, I think I finished my rant, guys. If you'd like to donate to this guy right here, if you like his rants, you could do so down below in the description and in the comments. I love you guys, and until next time, may the force be with you.